Chapter 297. Great Sumeru Hammer's Profound Argumentation, Ring Detonation, TL by Bagelson. Just at this moment, after being blasted away more than a kilometer, Tang San returned like a comet. Basically without giving himself any time to adjust, he lunged back as soon as he could hold the momentum. 3 of his 9 spirit rings were already gone, but his imposing mana still increased without stopping. That golden blue flame wrapped him up completely, and the sea god trident brand on his forehead blossomed with surging radiance. He seemed to have fully entered a berserk state. Chen Ringshu had seen this kind of condition before, when Tang San simultaneously absorbed the spirit rings of the 315 Ant emperors. Wasn't he like this then? I'd like to see how many attacks he can take. Chen Ringshu met Tang San, and at the same time as Tang San's 4th spirit ring shattered with a rumbling explosion, he was once again blasted back. But this time he didn't fly back, but was instead punched straight into the sky by Chen Ringshu. An enormous golden flame chased after him, about to swallow him up. Just at this moment, the sea god trident brand on Tang San's forehead suddenly turned incomparably kind. In midair, faintly golden blood dripped out of his 7 apertures like little serpents, but being in midair, he still violently smacked his own body with both hands, making him face upwards and using the 8 spider lances folded on his back block the golden flame tongue. Intense spirit power corrosion made Tang San's golden blue light dim a bit, but the next moment, the hundreds of golden lights shooting out of the 8 spider lances forcibly intruded into that angelic power golden flame. At the same time as they were destroyed by the golden flame, the spirit power they frantically swallowed from the golden flames poured into Tang San, making the golden light around him strengthen again. Pooh! Tang San spewed out another mouthful of blood. Amidst the suicidal swallowing of the 8 spider lances, his strength rose to another peak, but the pain like his back was shattering still made him twist and contort. But just like this, Tang San's iron will didn't sway in the slightest. Flipping around with his head down, he stretched both hands above his head and fell from the sky like a golden blue arrow. His 5th spirit ring shattered explosively, merging into his golden blue flame as he clashed with Chen Ringshu pursuing him. From the start of the battle until now, if one simple sentence could describe Tang San's fighting, then Chen Ringshu would definitely say, too wild. Yes, while Tang San was well aware his strength was below Chen Ringshu, he launched suicidal attacks against her with a kind of attitude like quenching thirst with poison. Chen Ringshu even felt that she had used a bit more angelic power in her first 2 attacks, she could have completely broken Tang San's body. But after 4 clashes, Tang San was still alive and well, and even launching an even more severe 5th attack. His constant attacks even left Chen Ringshu at a loss. She believed that any other title Douluo might be unable to reach this far. The 5th clash occurred with Tang San placing both palms together to meet Chen Ringshu's rising dragon fist. This time, a ring of golden light spread out horizontally. Within 10 li, all the tall trees flattened in their collisions were cut a chunk shorter. Enormous energy waves made the air seem to freeze. This time it wasn't Tang San that was blasted back, but rather Chen Ringshu. Tang San only shook slightly in midair, swaying a moment and keeping himself from spitting blood again. But Chen Ringshu dropped, and as her feet hit the ground they sank more than half a chi into it. Clearly, she didn't completely dissolve the force in Tang San's attack. That severe attack power invaded her angelic power and erupted in an incomparable explosion, to the point that the angelic power brimming with swallowing and burning properties basically couldn't show its effect. Haha, again. Tang San delayed briefly, but after his golden blue flames forcefully dispersed the golden light around him, he charged again like shooting star chasing the moon, straight towards Chen Ringshu who was flapping her 6 wings to break free of the ground. Are you really trying to die? Chen Ringshu shouted angrily. Successive defeats had already ignited burning flames of anger in her heart. Facing Tang San's 6th attack, she clasped her hands. An enormous angel figure appeared behind her. Terrifying golden flames suddenly turned into a giant angelic sword. This wasn't that divine weapon, but rather formed completely from Chen Ringshu's own spirit power. The 100-meter long giant sword was nearly tangible. Sword Douluo once used a similar ability, but Sword Douluo's attack was like a firefly compared to the moon when compared to Chen Ringshu's explosive energy waves. Tang San's expression grew serious, but the wildness in his eyes didn't retreat at all. Around him, the 6th, 7th and 8th, 3 spirit rings suddenly shattered simultaneously, turning into lines of golden blue flowing light that wrapped him up completely. Right now he seemed to be transparent. Surging sea god's light shot from the sea god trident brand on his forehead. An enormous figure equally formed behind Tang San, and that figure was the sea god trident. The sea god trident Chen Ringshu had stabbed into the ground seemed to sense this presence. The main blade issued an excited hum, even if it couldn't join in the battle. Right now it still seemed to cheer for Tang San. The power condensed of 3 rings instantly exploded. The illusory golden blue sea god trident clashed in midair with the angelic sword that seemed like it could cut down the sky. Chen Ringshu didn't move, attentively watching Tang San's wild gaze. She frowned deeply. She suddenly felt that Tang San was constantly overdrawing his own life force. Even with the full support of all the blue silver grass in the Stardow Great Forest, the unknown technique he was using to attack her was most likely burning jade and common stone together. Of course, it was impossible for him to kill her. Could the bed he raised just be an excuse? A pretext to keep her from using the divine weapon? That Chen Ringshu didn't attack didn't mean Tang San wouldn't. Anyone else might have used this chance to catch their breath, but not Tang San. From the start of the battle until this moment, he had made no show of stopping his attacks. The sea god trident figure shone, covering the sky, rushing directly at Chen Ringshu. Wasn't the way it flew out just like the golden 13 halberds one goes without return? There was no divine weapon in his hand, but Tang San's attack wasn't inferior to the attack that had stopped Chen Ringshu once before. The difference was that Chen Ringshu was now fully prepared. She wouldn't get caught off guard by him again. Chen Rongs drew a deep breath. No matter what, if this man couldn't be conquered, he had to be dealt with before he could completely mature. The angelic sword emitted surging golden flames, fusing together with Chen Ringshu. It slashed. Boom! 2 virtual divine weapons clashed in the air, and the entire sky changed color for a moment, like the sun had descended to the ground. A glittering golden color appeared in the sky above the Stardow Great Forest. This scene was clearly visible even 1,000 li away. That's Bibi Dong looked in the direction of the Stardow Great Forest from her carriage, watching the marvel of the sky washed with gold. She was completely dumbfounded. With her cultivation she could clearly sense the presence within that collision, but the level of that presence had reached such a level. Teacher, what is that? Why is it so dreadful? Hulina saw that golden light, but what she felt was completely different from Bibi Dong. A deeply fearful feeling arose in her heart. Her breathing was labored, her charming face deathly pale. Hurriedly lowering her head, she didn't dare gaze at that golden light again. Just watching it from 1,000 li away gave people such a feeling. It was obvious just how enormous the energy it encompassed was. God level. How is it possible? Yet another god level. High priest, what did you do? Bibi Dong unconsciously clenched her fists and bit her lip, her eyes bursting with incomparably resolute light. Her years of effort absolutely couldn't be wasted like this. Nana, pass on my orders. Everyone accelerate. We return to Spirit City as fast as possible. She had already resolved herself. No matter how enormous the price would be, she had to reach that kind of level as soon as possible. She would turn herself into the strongest person in the world. No, the strongest god. Bibi Dong's pride simply didn't allow anyone to be placed above her. She had already resolved herself to spare no effort or price, even if she still had to increase her strength. Tang San lay calmly on the ground. In front of him was a 5-meter wide, 5-meter deep, more than 500-meter long trench, and this trench was formed from him hitting the ground. If he wasn't always clenching his teeth, he would long since have fallen unconscious. His body hurt like he was ripped apart, each bone feeling shattered. Even more dreadful was that angelic power filled with swallowing energy had invaded his body, and was just now dissolving his spirit power. Fortunately, the sea god's light's energy was just barely able to block it, but driving out this angelic power was still extremely difficult. Chen Ringshu naturally wouldn't be worse off than Tang San. She quietly stood next to a tall tree. The angelic power she released guarding the stick of incense stabbed into it, keeping it from breaking down in the energy backlash. From the start of the battle, half of this stick of incense had already burned, but to Chen Ringshu it seemed like the fight was already settled. Even though Tang San was constantly arousing his potential, and even used special methods to temporarily increase his strength to the god level, he had still lost without suspense when facing a true god. Chen Rinxu was only breathing a bit quickly, her face a bit flushed, but Tang San lay motionless on the ground. Angelic senses told Chen Rinxu that Tang San wasn't dead. Even though his injuries were severe, it wasn't enough to claim his life. Her angelic power was constantly nibbling away at his body. Chen Rinxu flicked off the ash from the incense, but just as she was about to pull it out, Tang San's somewhat hoarse voice reached her. Our bet still isn't over. I still haven't lost. Chen Rinxu looked astonished towards the other end of the trench, only to see Tang San pull himself out using both hands, and at the same time exposing two golden spider legs that stabbed violently into the ground, lifting Tang San out of the trench. With his feet firmly placed on the ground, Tang San's clothes were tattered, his face as pale as a sheet of paper. He swayed, and if not for the 8 spider lances support, Chen Rinxu had no doubt he would have fallen at any time. The previously burning golden blue light was already gone, and even his blue-silver emperor spirit was missing. He wasn't her match in his best condition, so how could he be planning to keep fighting her like this? Chen Rinxu really didn't understand what ability Tang San could still rely on. Drawing a deep breath, Tang San struggled to push out his chest and straighten his back. His right hand fished out a few sausages from the 100 treasure pouch, swallowing them. Those sausages were 3 big recovery sausages, 1 stimulating pink sausage, and 1 limit surpassing moss green sausage. These 3 kinds of sausages definitely had recovery and condition upgrade effects, but the last sausage Tang San pulled out had the most bizarre effect. It was a completely transparent, almost crystalline sausage, covered with crystal thorns. It looked like a bizarre caterpillar. Seeing this sausage, Tang San paused a bit. Just as he was about to put it in his mouth, his face revealed a strange smile. It wasn't a smile of certainty for this battle, but rather for remembering the owner of the sausage and its history. This crystalline caterpillar-like sausage was Oscar's 8th spirit ability, crystal caterpillar sausage. When using this 8th spirit ability, Oscar's vulgar spirit chant was, "I, your father, have a hairy caterpillar." Tang San still clearly remembered Oscar's helpless expression the first time he used this spirit ability, wishing he could find a crack in the ground to hide in. The way he looked really made people laugh despite themselves. Thinking, oh Oscar, thinking of his comrades, the pain Tang San felt also faded a lot. He never had to fight alone. He always had his comrades with him. For his friends and lover, he couldn't lose here. Eating the crystal caterpillar sausage, a hazy transparent radiance seemed to warp around Tang San, his skin seeming to turn transparent, causing bizarre fluctuations. Chen Rinxu's divine sense immediately discovered that Tang San's seriously injured body was recovering with astonishing speed. His wounds completely gone in just a few breaths. His dull eyes also brightening again. All his bones made crackling sounds, and he recovered as if he had never even fought. This was Chen Rinxu's eyes opened wide. What did he actually eat to instantly recover from his injuries and restore him to his best state, even if his spirit power didn't rise in the same way? Just the recovery effect was astonishing. Crystal caterpillar sausage effect. Instantly restore all injuries short of severed limbs, able to restore you as long as 1 breath remains. This sausage consumed 50% of Oscar's spirit power to make, and he could only make 1 every 7 days. This clearly showed how precious a sausage it was. Moreover, not just anyone could use this sausage. When Oscar produced the crystal caterpillar sausage, if he just did it normally, it could only be used by himself, substantially increasing his survival ability in battle. If he wanted to make it useful for others, then he had to use 3 drops of that person's blood. Moreover, after making it, it would only be useful to the owner of that blood. It recovered physical strength and injuries. This thing was practically a second life to a spirit master, only it couldn't recover spirit power. It was just because he had this that Tang San dared take on the 3 spirit beasts' spirit rings head on, and why he would rather rely on his own strength to slowly recover after absorbing the 315-ton and Emperor spirit rings instead of using the crystal caterpillar sausage. After breaking through rank 80 and gaining the crystal caterpillar sausage, Oscar's position in the Shrek 7 Devils had grown even more important. After gaining this ability, he immediately used 49 days to give each person a sausage to prepare for possible need. Taking this out now also counted as one of Tang San's last trump cards. The crystal caterpillar sausage had no expiry date. In other words, as long as it wasn't damaged, it would be effective at any time. This was the benefit of first-rate food took spirit abilities. If not the manufacturing being too exhausting and overly difficult, it would practically be a god-level ability. Of course, the reason this crystal caterpillar sausage could recover all physical strength and heal all injuries was still due to one more reason. That was, when manufacturing, Oscar ate an erect gold fly, and the sausage effect would double. The original crystal caterpillar sausage's effect should heal 50% of injuries and recover 50% of physical strength. This also embodied the erect gold fly's importance. Watching Tang San's strength actually suddenly recover like this, Chen Rinxu still didn't launch any attacks. She only coldly said, "So what if your strength recovers? If I'm not mistaken, your blue-silver emperor can't be used again anyway. The scene of your spirit rings breaking earlier shouldn't be faked. Even if I didn't see your spirit truly break, you shouldn't be able to use it again for a short while." Tang San nodded silently. "That's right, you've watched very carefully. You're quite correct. My blue-silver emperor can't be used after the first 8 spirit rings broke. But don't forget that I have twin spirits. Besides the blue-silver emperor, I also have 1 more spirit. The outcome of our bet still isn't clear. I still haven't lost." Chen Rinxu smiled. "Fine. I'd like to experience just how powerful the world's #1 Sect spirit, the clear sky hammer that once seriously injured my father, is." Turning her head, she glanced at that stick of incense. Right now more than half the incense had burned, and it just kept burning. There were no tricks with the incense Tang San took out. Black light rushing out from his left hand. It was no longer golden blue light covering Tang San, but rather pitch black. In that deep blackness was mixed in faintly golden light as well as red color filled with severity. An enormous clear sky hammer appeared in Tang San's grasp out of nowhere. Compared to before, the clear sky hammer had changed considerably with 8 spirit rings. Even though the head still wasn't the size of a barrel like clear sky Douluo Tang Hao's, it was just 1 size smaller, and it was also covered by fine golden lines unlike Tang Hao's clear sky hammer. The spiral pattern haft was 3 meters long, and no matter how you looked at it, it was a 2-handed weapon. On the surface of the hammer constantly roamed a warping layer of black, with a thick aura like an unending mountain range, giving people an extremely steady impression. Chen Rinxu could sense its terrifying weight without even touching it, but what astonished her even more were the 8 spirit rings neatly arranged around it. Red, black, 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 red, red, red. 8 neat spirit rings, 4 black, 4 red, matching the clear sky hammer's own black and red light. The surging energy waves made Tang San standing there look like a demon god. The intense imposing manner was even above when he used the blue silver emperor before. In fact, right now his clear sky hammer didn't have 9 spirit rings, only 8. Under such circumstances, the presence that emanated still surpassed the blue silver emperor. It was obvious how powerful the clear sky hammer he held was. How is it possible? Weren't those 3 ants just 90,000 years? Chen Rinxu looked shocked at the last 3 spirit rings, unable to help crying out. Not only was she shocked, even Tang San himself stared wide-eyed. He not only discovered that the clear sky hammer's weight was higher than anticipated, but moreover those last 3 blood-colored spirit rings shocked him. Yes, those should be 3 90,000-year spirit rings. At most they should be reddish-black. How come they had now all turned red? Tang San spoke practically at the same time as Chen Rinxu. Variation. Indeed, besides variation, they couldn't think of another possibility. These 3 spirit rings all changing into 100,000 years only had one explanation, because Tang San absorbed the 3 simultaneously, and also due to some special method, led to these spirit rings undergoing variation, in the process gaining 10,000 years of cultivation, rising from 90,000-year spirit rings to the 100,000-year level. As for why this would happen, Chen Rinxu had absolutely no idea, but Tang San had some vague guesses. When absorbing the 315-ton Ant Emperor Brothers spirit rings, Tang San used a frontal collision method, precisely the attack method of the Great Sumeru hammer, using incomparable aggression and explosive might to force the enemy to submit. This was in itself equivalent to using the Great Sumeru hammer to forge the 3 spirit rings. It was very possible that this forging process had refined the 3 spirit rings, thus causing the evolution. Not only did it let Tang San possess 3 spirit rings, but also made the spirit rings rise to the 100,000-year realm. This was an unexpected surprise to Tang San. You really are blessed by heaven. Originally already certain of her victory, Chen Rinchu's expression grew serious again. The golden flame surged from her anew. She could clearly sense how the current Tang San in front of her was even stronger than the Tang San using the blue silver emperor before. He lacked one spirit ring, but his strength had still risen. This spoke of the differences in spirits. The blue silver emperor really was a top quality spirit among the plant types, but don't forget that the blue silver emperor was a control type spirit, and the clear sky hammer Tang San held was one of the strongest power attack type spirits of the modern era. Moreover, even though the clear sky hammer had fewer spirit rings than the blue silver emperor, it was just one 50,000 year spirit ring, and it also had a lot of 100,000 year spirit rings. Further adding that the hammer was inscribed with the Asura domain, and it even further increased the clear sky hammer's might. Plus Tang San adding spirit rings in the pursuit of pure force, while the clear sky hammer lacked one spirit ring, its overall level was no less than the blue silver emperor. Don't forget that its spirit ring came from the king of the forest, the Titan giant ape. Faint light shone from Tang San. He slowly raised the clear sky hammer, pointing straight at Chen Rinchu. Blood red and pure black instantly fused together, turning into a bizarre dark gold. Very soon, this dark golden color spread all over, and the clear sky hammer in his hand grew in an instant. The giant hammer head expanding tenfold. The haft also grew from the previous 3 meters to 10 meters, turning into a strange-looking giant weapon. The deep golden color covering Tang San also spread to all the 8 spirit rings, each turning the same color, just like when he started attacking with the blue silver emperor before. At that time Tang San was fighting barehanded, but now, he held such a giant weapon. Without question, Tang San was forcefully pushing his strength to the god level. His method to face Chen Rinchu came from the Great Sumeru hammer, also the most overbearing secret skill of the Great Sumeru hammer. Back then, it was just because Tang Hao spoke of this secret skill that Tang San was extremely shocked, believing this was an ability that was basically impossible to use. This secret skill was called ring detonation. Each spirit ring could be detonated once. After detonating, the spirit ability strength would fully burst out, instantly transforming into power that blended into the attack, causing strength far exceeding one's level. When detonating a ring, the higher the quality of the spirit ring, the greater the effect. Just like how Tang San could beat back Chen Rinchu with his 5th ring detonation, it was because his blue silver emperor's 5th spirit ring was at the 100,000 year level. At the end he relied on his 6th, 7th and 8th spirit rings to block Chen Rinchu's sacred angelic sword, and this was also because 2 of them were 100,000 year spirit rings. This was the all-out ability of the Great Sumeru hammer. Each spirit ring launched one attack, and after all the spirit rings were detonated, the user would also enter a weak state. Moreover, detonating rings was extremely dangerous. With one lapse in control, unable to control the strength from the detonation, it was possible to be swallowed by the energy. This was also the reason the Great Sumeru hammer could only be practiced by each generation's clear sky Douluo in the clear sky sect. Without powerful talent and deep background, using this secret skill was no different from suicide. Tang San's body was definitely extremely durable, and with his half-god level body, he was hardly worried about the energy backlash from the ring detonation. That's why he could very quickly master it. Previously he relied on the Great Sumeru hammer's ring detonation technique, using it on his blue silver emperor spirit. By using such a method there was naturally no way to release spirit abilities, and it wasn't that he didn't want to use them. And Chen Rinchu was subsequently controlled. Even though Tang San was seriously injured in the last attack, she was also successfully held off for half the duration of the bet. Moreover, using the clear sky hammer was Tang San's true trump card. After all, this was the spirit that could fully display the power of the Great Sumeru hammer. The cost of ring detonation were also enormous. After using Great Sumeru hammer's ring detonation once, all spirit rings would completely disappear for 3 days. Only the spirit power remained. A full 3 days were required before the spirit rings could gradually recover, and after using ring detonation once, it couldn't be used again for at least 36 days. Otherwise there was risk of the spirit rings breaking for real. Today Tang San drew over Chen Rinchu and relied on using this ring detonation technique to fight for a chance to leave. He'd already carefully made plans before drawing her over. He'd included Chen Rinchu's character and everything he regarded as important, and besides Chen Rinchu refusing to return the sea god trident to him, the rest was all successful. Even the process of the fight was within his plans. Even in his berserk state, Tang San absolutely wouldn't lose his calm. This might be where he was different from his father. Even using the Great Sumeru hammer, he would never be able to fuse his father's domineering aggression with his own character. The clear sky hammer didn't have the sea god trident's ability to only weigh 1,000th of its weight in its owner's hand, but it could still let its owner only bear 1/10 of its weight. After Tang San now released its spirit avatar, the clear sky hammer was extremely heavy in his hand. With his sensitivity towards weight, he could clearly tell that the clear sky hammer now weighed more than 10,000 jin. If it was just 1/10 of its weight, then in spirit avatar, the incredibly enormous clear sky hammer almost weighed enough to compete with his sea god trident. Actually, this didn't actually mean the clear sky hammer could be compared to the sea god trident, but it fully proved that Tang San's all power type spirit ring additions were successful. And the most important reason the clear sky hammer could reach such a terrifying weight was still the benefit of those last 3 variant 100,000 year spirit rings from the 15 ton and emperor brothers. Each of the brothers had strength surpassing 50,000 jin. After spirit ring variation, besides Tang San's own strength attribute increasing explosively, it also related to making the clear sky hammer's own power reach an extremely astonishing degree. The 7th spirit avatar spirit ring was actually one of the 3 brothers. In the strength attribute, Tang San could be certain that he already surpassed the rank 99 peak Douluo Bosexy. Under conditions where Bosexy didn't use any powerful spirit abilities, her strength should be 100,000 years, but Tang San could feel that the strength he could project definitely wasn't just 100,000 years. The half-god level body could endure even more. Even if this 10,000 jin giant hammer was heavy, wielding it single-handedly was still fluent, basically not causing any delays due to weight. It was also this giant clear sky hammer that gave Tang San unprecedented confidence in facing Chen Rinchu. Indeed, he really wasn't Chen Rinchu's opponent, but when the enemy didn't use divine weapons, at least she wouldn't be able to do anything as long as he attacked with the clear sky hammer. Of course, changing to the clear sky hammer gave Tang San disadvantages too. That was that he could no longer draw on the strength of the blue silver brass in the Stardow Great Forest. The reason he could do it before was that, after Tang San's experiments, when using the Great Sumeru hammer technique, it would cause a kind of special inspiration with the blue silver emperor spirit, and he could fuse with the surrounding blue silver brass without needing to release his domain, and this displayed an effect like the blue silver domains or rivers run into the sea. At least this kind of effect wouldn't disappear while doing ring explosions, but now that he used the clear sky hammer, and moreover equally with the Great Sumeru hammer technique, the presence that emerged was fully that of the clear sky hammer. Even if Tang San wanted to open the blue silver domain as well, it was impossible.